I'm very excited to be a part of this, despite admittedly quarantining in the UK right now. With Balderton, which is a European sector-agnostic multi-stage fund, our food investments include the vertical farming startup Infarm from Berlin, My Protein through the Hut Group, K-Box, and Simple Feast out of Denmark. So it's definitely a sector that we have spent a little bit of time on internally, but of course always on the lookout for more. And I'm really passionate about food and spending lots of time on the sector internally, and in particular in the light of the pandemic and the challenges we'll have to face with producing more and more in a sustainable way and wasting less, also create lots of really, really exciting opportunities. Looking at the investments in the sector, they are definitely on the rise and quite aggressively. Looking at capital invested in food tech just until May this year, it has doubled the whole of 2020. Big part of that is of course driven by more capital intensive distribution businesses, such as the delivery side and some of the 10-minute delivery companies, but not all. And it was also great to see the Oatly IPO, Nordic 10 billion food tech outcome. So that's super, super cool. Looking at what is going on in food right now, I would say the two big overall themes that basically all food tech businesses relate to in one way or another is definitely sustainability on one side and convenience on the other side. I don't think there are that many food tech businesses getting funded today that don't emerge from one of these teams, and ideally both. Sometimes there is a bit of push and pull between them, but I think the true magic will happen when there will be ways to sustainably deliver convenience. What I mean here is that the products themselves have, of course, to be sustainable, the production, the packaging, how they are delivered to our homes, and of course, on the way, nothing is supposed to get wasted. And ideally, we don't pay more and we get it conveniently delivered. Sounds easy, right? Traditional food distribution being ripped apart. On one hand, you have lots of novel foods that have traditionally struggled with the quite difficult dynamics of distribution through distributors and later supermarkets, which are owned and controlled to a certain extent by the big FMCGs. So many food startups are really struggling struggling with the go-to-market, and even if they manage to get to the supermarkets, they sometimes underestimate the placement and marketing efforts needed to succeed in such an environment. So starting with a couple of trends that I think we'll see more of, and then I will talk a little bit more about what can be done about it and where the opportunities are, and you know how we can all, both founders and investors, take a bite of what will be going on in the market. So looking at the consumer spend on food, it doesn't necessarily increase a lot looking at the total spend, but the share of wallet and where it's distributed and who gets a bite of that is changing. And with the rise of delivery options and online shopping, it's getting much more decoupled. So when you're doing shopping online, it doesn't make as much sense to have the toilet paper next to the tomatoes and the peanut butter. And I mean, e-groceries today are a bit of a replica of the online world, so they basically sell anything online. But I think the real opportunities going forward will be to capitalize on the trend of decoupling, where we're already seeing some startups focused on specific subcategories, such as like specific online discount retailers, farm-to-table solutions, different type of like fruit and veggie boxes being delivered, and I mean offline also butchers having surprisingly big interest despite the world going vegan. So I think there will be more and more of these more verticalized startups in food, which will all need sustainable packaging and sustainable delivery options. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in the way that how we shop or how we consume food over time will change. And long term, the all-in-one supermarkets, I think they are the ones that will struggle the most and get a little bit ripped apart over time, both on the offering side, so in terms of what they sell, but also from a convenience perspective. One of the big convenience trends, and moving more to that side, is of course on-demand grocery shopping, mainly targeted towards middle-class customers, given the price it means to get groceries delivered home, and the rise of dark stores. I don't think anyone has missed the rise of the dark supermarkets delivering groceries. We've seen around 20 to 30 super sharp teams in Europe so far, trying to take a bite on that opportunity. And the reason why they attract these levels of venture capital funding is not because they are super highly cash flow generative, but because they manage to capture a bigger share of wallet and get people used to a level of convenience that is then very hard to be without. And sustainability of impact of delivery can be discussed, but mainly looking at the transport, if that's green or in a very small vehicle, it's surely better than driving in a big car to do the shopping outside the city. And so looking at, you know, where can we then take a bite from these number of emerging startups doing quick deliveries? Well, I think it's a golden opportunity for startups selling and developing the next generation food products. They have the opportunity to get easier and a different type of distribution, but also the feedback that it means selling online. Product placements on shelves, which has been the traditional way in the supermarkets, that is changing, and it's changing for product placement in the online environment, where I think next generation of products will definitely thrive. On the other hand, they will have a more limited number of SKUs and will therefore be more picky with what they take on board, and are more likely to source products directly from the producers rather than the distributors. So there is a part where a part of the chain could be cut out in the future. And the more boring plain bulk items could easily be white labeled over time, but the innovation and the more R&D heavy food tech outcomes focused on creating new types of foods, I think we'll have a much better and an interesting opportunity to get to the market and get very important feedback from their end customers. So to summarize, lots of big trends in how the food distribution is changing, but it also means lots of opportunities, and in particular on the food tech side, where I think it will be easier for startups to get their products to the customers. That was it from me, and big thanks for having me on stage today.